Roll call.
All right, I don't have my list. All right. Commissioner Bennett.
Here.
Commissioner Burke.
Here.
Commissioner Doris.
Here.
Vice Chair Kine.
Here.
Chair Halley.
Here.
And Commissioner Nichols.
Here. Oh, we're both here.
So may I have approval of the minutes from the January 23rd, 2024 meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, now we'll go on to oral comments from the public, if we have any.
I have comments, but it's on an item, so should I wait?
Yes.
Any
Motion to
call-
close public comment.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. On to our business. Let's see. Public hearing to consider the approval of a conditional use permit to allow a residential use in the retail commercial zone. Applicant Gina McClendon. Do I read all this?
The
APN is 040-202, -004, and the project site is 514 12th Street. Zoning is retail commercial. May I, Planning Commission staff?
Yes. Before I get started, I just wanted to introduce our new Director of Community Development. This is Sherry Meads, and she's already been a very valuable asset for our department, and
Yay.
very excited to have her.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. Merritt said he apologized that he couldn't be here too, but he wasn't feeling well. So I insisted that he go home and he listened.
I love that.
I look forward to working with all of you.
Yay.
Okay. What we have on the agenda today is a conditional use permit for Gina McClendon for her parcel on 12th Street. The address is 514 12th Street. It is zoned retail commercial, which means that commercial uses are principally permitted and residential uses are conditionally permitted. You can see by the zoning map that the neighborhood is a mix of residential and commercial zones and uses. Here in the overhead, you can see the parcel is sort of in the center here. We've got commercial uses to the north, commercial uses to the east, some residential. Downtown is about a block away, so it's sort of the downtown area. The structure was previously in use as far back as I could find actually on Google, so at least back to 2007. It was a commercial building that was a real estate appraisal office. It is currently set up, it could still be used as a commercial structure, but there are also residential amenities inside. There is access to the front. There's on-street parking in the front, and then to the rear, we have an alley between K Street and L Street. There's access to the parking in the rear. There's two spaces directly off of the alley, and then another space nearer to the structure. For residential uses, the municipal code does require a covered parking space, and so that's been made one of the conditions of approval of the use permit. There is parking for the business next door as well, and then access through the bank parking lot too. So there's a few different ways to get to the parking area. This is the street view of the front. You can see that it's got nice landscaping. It is accessible. It has a ramp in the front. It is, still residential in nature in its appearance. Adding the residential use will not prohibit commercial use, and there won't be any additional permits required if it were to revert back to the commercial use. And here's another view sort of the rear of the structure, showing a car parked in the parking space nearest to the house or structure. This is one I took this morning, actually, so you can see that it's got a couple of large parking spaces with access from the alley, and then the other single space nearer to the home. You can see that the residential structure to the south also has covered enclosed parking.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Can you hold it just until the presentation's done?
Sure.
Okay. It's almost there. And then this is just another aerial showing the parking area. It's a little blurry, but you can see where there's the car in the single parking space and the two larger spaces with access from the alley. And then these are some of the interior photos. You can see it's got nice residential structure with black and white checker in the kitchen and a nice little island. It's got some built-ins and nice flooring and that sort of thing. And that is the end of the presentation.
Any questions from our commissioners?
What I see, it has 3 off-street parking spaces.
Correct.
No enclosed.
No enclosed currently, but that would be a condition of approval, that one would be constructed.
So this was a residence that turned into a business that now is turning back into a residence.
Potentially. It is up for sale right now, so I think Gina's just trying to add some versatility to the property, especially because it does have the residential amenities. So that makes it a flexible, it could be live, work, all live, all work, either way.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just had a question on the use permit itself. So like, if it were approved tonight and a commercial use continued, like would that use permit, how long is that valid for? Like several years down the road, could they simply effectuate it, or is it expire?
Generally, if the use permit is not, if the use that the use permit was granted for does not take place, then after a certain point in time, the use permit would expire. I would have to check the municipal code. It's 6 months to a year if the use is not begun.
And then for the parking, it was just a covered,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be enclosed.
No.
It just
can
has to be like a carport.
Yeah. The municipal code requires 2 parking spaces and 1 must be covered for all residential uses.
So they don't show any plan for doing that there, so. Part of the conditional use
Yeah.
before they can get.
Any other questions, comments before I open to the public? Everybody good? All right. We'll open public comment.
My name is Mary Goodell. Excuse me, John.
You gotta come up to the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
My mouth is loud enough.
They're gonna see you on TV, so.
Oh, okay. My name is Mary Goodell, and my son owns the house that you just showed, the yellow colored little house at 1134 K. So that's why I'm here, to find out what is going on, basically. And Jenna apparently is going to buy some property, is that it, Jenna?
Well, I own the property currently.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
The one
I
that's
do.
for sale right now?
I do,
Okay.
yes.
So,
So I will give a quick presentation to the planning commissioners, and maybe you could get some
Oh,
information, and
good.
maybe you can come back up and ask your
Oh,
questions.
that'd be
Do you mind if
perfect.
we do it like that?
oh, perfect. I don't care how you do it, there it is.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Hopefully I can shine a light on to answer some of your questions. Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for having us tonight. Thank you for being here. Welcome, Sherry. I'm excited that this is your first Planning Commission meeting.
amazing. Pretty simple project, I think. So I just wanted to give some information for you folks and, of course, for folks in the audience. This home, I like to call it a home because it is a home, I purchased a couple years ago from Mel Thompson, who's a real estate appraiser in the area. This home was built in the early 40s, and it was principally permitted at that time as a residence because the zoning was residential R1. In 2002, Mel Thompson changed the zoning to the current zoning, which is commercial, and then he used it for his appraisal office for the last 20 years. He used it for his office, and he did, of course, the upgrades that were required by the city in order for him to get his, to open and do business there. So he did put in the upgrades for the ramp. But the inside is still very much a residence. He literally used one of the bedrooms as his office. It still has a closet. There's an island in the kitchen. There's a washer and dryer. It is a residence. So I'm hoping that I would be granted the conditional use permit. The property is on the market for sale, but because there is such a lack of housing in our area, I wanted to open the door for buyers to be able to either use it as a residence or commercial, and for them to decide so it was most appealing on the market. Most of the folks that have come to look at it thus far have been looking at it as a residence. However, for their financing, of course, they have to have a use permit before they can get financing, and of course a burn down letter as well. I just wanted to add a side caveat that while I didn't ask for an official variance for the covered parking spot, the carport, I just was wondering if I could mention to you folks and have you chat it over that I'm a little bit concerned with the carport because, as you pointed out, it is just covered parking. It's not required to be enclosed. But due to the lot, I am a little concerned that if required, of course, I would conform and put up a carport, but it might create another problem that we don't currently have. So if we create a carport in the area, I don't know, Katie, if you have the ability to bring up the picture with the chain link fence. If we put the carport next to the chain link fence, where it will fit according to the 90-degree parking requirements, my concern is that it will limit anybody with a truck or a long bed truck from parking there. So if somebody purchases it, or if I end up keeping it and turning it into a rental, it's gonna create a problem where somebody with a truck is not going to be able to get into that carport. So then they're going to need to park somewhere else, which would be, of course, behind the chain link fence. See where the sign is right there? So say the truck would then park there. The issue that then would create is they're going to be backing out into an alley, and it's a little tedious because there's a U.S. Bank curb that protects their parking lot as well. So I'm just concerned that if the carport was required, that it could create a problem where it would limit where my tenants could then park. And because it is commercial on one side and behind, and then residential on this other side, I just don't want to create a problem. So I'm just asking if the council would consider an exemption for that requirement for the covered parking if the conditional use permit was issued because it was conforming use before it was turned to commercial. The zoning was changed, and we're just asking for it to have the ability to be used as it was originally intended. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina.
No, I think that Janet answered quite a few of my questions there. Thank you. You got it.
Luckily, I got a chair that elevates at height. My name's Tom Ross. My wife and I own the property next door, 534 12th Street. We are also up for sale and had inquiries about residential use. So I'm just curious what a conditional use permit is. Can that be sold the permit transfers, does the new owner have to come before the council or the planning commission to determine what the use is going to be when it's sold? Gina is right about the parking. The zero clearance from the two lots, you couldn't open a car door from either side. So if I was to put a fence up on the property line, or Gina was to put a fence up, you would not be able to park next to it. And on my lot, I have the mortuary concrete wall that is also zero clearance. So I'm just wondering, understand the use permit, is it transferable? And
I can answer that.
residential real estate in Fortuna is way more valuable, I feel, than commercial real estate when you could rent Main Street businesses for $1,200 a month. There's not a lot of incentive to own a commercial building unless you actually have a purpose of a larger type office. So it's limiting to try and sell. The only comments I got.
All
Thank you.
right. Katie, you going to answer?
So, yeah, so the conditional use permit, once it is in effect, once it does become a residential use, it will run with the property. So it won't change. If the property owners change, it won't change. If it does go back to commercial use and it's in commercial use, then at that point, they would need to then get another conditional use permit to go back to residential, but it does run with the property.
Okay, well, how do we move forward with it? Or
Well,
do
what I can do is I can read you what the criteria for a variance would be. It generally needs to meet certain standards in order for you to grant a variance from the municipal code. There are exceptions to some of the parking rules in the retail commercial zone, but the municipal code specifically calls out single-family residences as being exempt from those exemptions. So the municipal code's intent is to have residential use in that zone compliant with the residential requirements in the residential zones. The in lieu parking fees and exceptions for the RC zone specifically state that single-family residences are excluded from this section, from any of those exemptions. Changes in the type of use that require additional parking spaces will be required to provide those spaces. Although we are not requiring additional spaces, we are requiring modifications to the parking in order for it to conform with the residential use. So in order for the criteria for a variance to be met, the applicant must show that there are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances applying to the property involved or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or uses in the same class or district, that owing to such exceptional or extraordinary circumstances, the literal enforcement of the specified provisions of this title would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship not created by or attributable to the applicant or the owner of the property, and that such variance will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with limitations imposed on similarly zoned properties. So Gina would need to show that it would be impossible to put covered parking in because of constraints of the parcel, that there's no room or there's other attributes to the parcel that would prohibit construction of covered parking, or that if we were to enforce it, it would create a hardship on the parcel or on the property owner, and that if we did allow the variance, that we would not be granting special privilege, that other parcels in the same area are not allowed to have. So if we were to allow her to not provide the covered parking, we would need to be applying that rule to the other two.
This is something that we're not going to vote on. This is something that you guys, after we do this, you guys are going to come back
Well,
and she's going to demonstrate that.
She hasn't applied for the variance.
Right.
What she's doing is asking you to the
Include that?
resolution to include an exception to the conditions of approval that are in the resolution. So she's asking that you not,
But does she want us to vote on
The motion?
the approval on the
So we'd have to put that in a motion.
Or do we
Yeah.
say no to everything if we don't like the variance?
you can pass the resolution as written and enforce the conditions of approval and the condition that should require the covered parking, or you can pass the resolution with the exception of not including that condition of approval.
And then she would have to come back to the city and prove that with the conditional use permit
She would, if you did not approve her request during this meeting, she could apply, officially apply for a variance, and then it would come back to the planning commission.
I mean, I do see how it's
If-
very cramped.
Yeah.
If it's struck, no, she would not have to. If it is approved, yeah, if it's approved as is and she still wants,
Just have to
The
be
exception.
difficult.
then she would need to apply. So it's up to the planning commission if you want to pass the resolution as written or strike the condition of approval.
And you could strike the condition of approval, but make sure that it's stated that it requires a variance and the findings to be met for that in a separate application.
Gotcha.
The lot is 30 feet wide, so it is very long. It's about three, I don't know exactly how much room it is for the width of the parking space, but I just think somewhere around 9 or 10 feet.
And it's important to note that the fence that was put up is optional. Residential uses do not require a fenced backyard. So what we would be saying in granting a variance or striking that is that there is no opportunity for parking. And I ask the commissioners to consider whether that, if that fence were not there, if the same finding would be made, if that makes sense.
I'm not real clear since I don't see a parking structure in place. Hard to really, to think about where exactly it would be standing. The fact that it might make it difficult for a large truck to get in and park on the property, I don't see that as an earth-shattering problem. And also parking structures can be engineered in a variety of ways. So I would need to see the structure itself and, or a drawing of the structure and a placement on the lot. Excuse me, can you turn your mic on?
Oh, can you turn your mic on?
My wife tells me my voice is loud enough, I don't need a microphone, but, sorry. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I had a quick question regarding where it says lawn and plant area on the site plan on page 13. Is that proposed or is that existing?
Okay.
Because in the aerial view, I'm looking at my phone, which could be antiquated.
Yeah,
It looks paved.
I believe that is an older site plan. I don't
Oh.
believe, yeah.
Okay, so that's green area now?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so. Or that is the paved area, where it says lawn and plant area, that is now paved.
That is paved.
Yeah, that is that one parking space nearest to the house.
So that would be just based off of that dimension, off of the house, and then there's a dimension on the site plan, on the property line, you're looking at 16 by 27.
There's no parking structure.
They don't have that because it's when they go to.
Yes. Okay.
Which, again, I'm looking at an aerial and there's a car there and it's got I had to guess, probably 5 feet off of that lot line, which to me, it looks like you you potentially could fit a parking structure, an overhead structure there
Yeah,
without a conflict of opening the door, like what was mentioned.
the parking space dimensions that are required are, I believe it is 9.5 by 19 feet. So if the parcel is 30 feet wide, then that leaves 15 feet. Although there is, as Sherry mentioned, although the fence is there, that's not, doesn't preclude that area from being used for parking. So there's approximately a 15-foot width all the way to the alley.
The requirement is for two parking spaces,
Two
correct?
parking spaces, one must be covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a potential for 3 there.
Yes.
The structure may limit it to 2.
If the structure were placed in the singular parking space near the house, there could still be 3, depending on the width. There technically, I mean, there could be 4 if the fence weren't there.
And then the fence would limit no backyard for as far as the residential is concerned.
Do you guys just mind if I just clarify? On the other side of that fence, from the aerial view, you should be able to see that there is a green area, and this is where the plumbing and the clean out is, so we can't park over the top of it. So
On the Google Earth, it shows that? on the-
yeah,
on the
it should
screen
show
view?
that, yeah. So this is hidden now by the fence, that's why we fenced that in, that was that area. So I just wanted to clarify that. So, and I'm not disputing that there wouldn't be a car to be able to park in that carport if we did that. I'm just pointing out that it would, if the purchaser or the tenant had a truck or a large truck or a long bed truck, it would definitely not, it would limit him from being able to park there, and then it would also limit the other cars because he's getting that clearance to back into the alley because of the curb. It just is very precarious. That is all I wanted to point out. Thank you, guys. And I am going to go to my next meeting at 6:30. I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you.
In this view here, you can see that these other cars are in the bank parking lot, but there would be access straight in and straight out to that parking space. So you wouldn't necessarily have to back into the alley. You could drive through. If you had a large truck and you needed to enter straight on into the carport, you could drive through the bank parking lot and go directly.
Backwards, it's going to hit that. But just that one spot, and if it's a large.
Yeah, I'll say I'm inclined to grant the variance. That's what I'm leaning towards. myself.
I'm inclined also.
Whoever the purchaser would they be able to put up a fence all the way up to the property line to the alleyway and along the property line to the north if they so chose?
Yes.
Sounds like a motion needs to be made.
Should I close? I need to make a motion to
Close
close.
public comment.
Yes,
Sorry.
close public comment. Oh, motion, okay. Second?
Second.
I want to be clear here that the item before you is the conditional use permit itself. We, as mentioned, do not have an application for a variance, so a variance cannot be approved tonight.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So so if we move to adopt this resolution contingent on a variance, is that what we're doing?
So you would be striking the condition of approval requiring covered parking, and then Gina would need to apply for a variance. We can't grant a variance without an application.
Gotcha.
So you would strike the language regarding the requirement for a carport, but add in language that
Applicant has to apply.
applicant must obtain, it has to be passed, must obtain a variance to eliminate the one covered parking requirement.
Gotcha. You want to try?
I would make a motion to amend the resolution to strike the required parking space and to get a variance.
I think we just got to make the motion.
Okay, I make a motion.
Okay. How about, I'll make motion to adopt resolution number P 2024-3110, resolution of the Planning Commission, City of Fortuna, approving conditional use permit allowing residential use, retail commercial zone, striking the
Shall include.
I don't know where that is in there, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Page
Page 6, number 2.
What's that?
Page 6.
Page 6, number 2. Oh, there you go. Striking number 2, off-street parking must be covered. Applicant must obtain a variance from the city before,
To eliminate
to eliminate,
the one required parking,
there you go.
covered parking spot.
I was getting close.
You did very well.
Did we get there?
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Okay, I'm still not clear on what exactly we're voting on. We are voting to approve her
Resolution.
resolution
With the condition,
that she goes back and applies for a variance.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. I vote yes.
Okay.
We're all
Roll
messy.
call vote. Commissioner Bennett. Commissioner Bennett.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Burke.
Yes.
Vice Chair, or Commissioner Doris.
Yes.
Chair Halley.
Yes.
Vice Chair Kine.
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley.
Yes.
And Commissioner Nichols. Yes.
We're sorry.
To see what you get to go through?
You guys are awesome.
All
No, we're
right,
doing
that
this way.
is all that we had as far as business items. Next up would be the Planning Commission staff communication. I don't have anything specific for you folks. Did you have any, other than to announce that we are fully staffed and we are fully commissioned? We have a full commission. We do still have an opening for an alternate, if you know of anybody that would like to apply for that position. But this is, I think, as full of the commission and the department we've been in
Yay.
quite a while. So.
We have a lady, another lady.
And I also want to add kudos to Katie, who is working on our general plan annual report, as well as a report that's due every year. It's called the Annual Progress Report. It's due to the California Housing and Community Development Department and to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, where every single building permit and planning entitlement application for the previous year has to be detailed, including the type of unit, whether it was an affordable unit and all of that type of stuff. And she's really doing a great job on that. And we will be bringing forward the general plan annual review report as a consent item in the future.
Nice.
That will be actually the next meeting, which is March, the first meeting in March. So,
Thank you, Katie.
okay.
Okay, I'm gonna,
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
hi.